Hello, my fellow gamers and horror film fans. I'm Mike C, and welcome into the Chrono Cabin. As Halloween gets closer, I thought I'd share with you 3 of my favorite John Carpenter horror films that I love to watch every year at this time of year. Now, I am not including the very classic Halloween or the Halloween franchise in this because those movies are kind of givens and they're just favorites to watch around Halloween. We all know that. So these are 3 John Carpenter films outside of the Halloween franchise that I think are perfect for this time of year. The first one is Prince of Darkness. This came out in 1987 and it's a supernatural horror film. And interestingly enough, this is actually film number 2 in what John Carpenter called his Apocalypse trilogy, which actually started with The Thing in 1982, and it ended with In the Mouth of Madness in 1994. I actually saw that one in the theaters, and that was a great movie too. The story begins with the wonderful actor Victor Wong, who plays a professor of quantum physics, and he gets a select group of really talented students together to go assist a Catholic priest in studying this very strange ancient cylinder that contains this very bizarre liquid that was found in this monastery. Now, it turns out the Catholic Church was keeping this a secret because whatever is in that cylinder is something of great evil. Something starts happening with this cylinder, so they move it to this old church that's in an industrial area in Los Angeles. Very funny story about this old building in Los Angeles. I've actually been to it. I went to a rave there many years ago. At the time, my girlfriend had some friends that were throwing this party or invited her along with some of her friends to this party, and she asked if I wanted to go, and I'm like, yeah, sure, it sounds interesting. I'm not much of a raving type or a raver back in the day, but I decided to go, and I invited my good friend Carlos, one of my best friends, who's also a horror movie fan. When we got there, we took a look at the building, and both of us realized there was something very familiar about the building. We didn't really realize it until we got inside. We recognized the inside of the building, but this is where they filmed Prince of Darkness. So it was actually kind of a fun experience. We actually saw an iconic horror movie filming spot, and it was totally by accident. We had no idea this is where it was going to be. The reason we didn't recognize the building was because if you watch this movie, you'll see there's no buildings surrounding it at that time when the movie came out and when they filmed it. So it's kind of just this one building that was sitting in this empty area. By the time we went to that rave, there were buildings on either side of it that were kind of building up around it. So it did look a little different, but it was the same color, and if the other buildings hadn't been there, we would have recognized it right away. It stars some of the greats, including Donald Pleasance, Victor Wong, as I mentioned before, Dennis Dunn, and Alice Cooper. Yes, Alice Cooper has a part in this movie. Who does not love a movie with Alice Cooper? Scale of 1 to 5 on the creepy factor. What say the Chrono Cabin algorithm? Chrono Cabin says a 3. I would definitely agree with that. There are some very creepy scenes in this movie, and I think this movie still holds up today. If you have not seen this movie, put it on your list and give it a try. I think you'll have a fun time with it. Now, it's currently streaming on Peacock. Now, the next film is a true classic in my opinion, and it is The Fog. This is a film from 1980, and it actually takes place in a small coastal town in Northern California. Actually, it was filmed up in Half Moon Bay, which is a beautiful location in California. If you've ever wanted to come to California, make that one of your destinations. It's a beautiful place up there. It's part of why I like this movie too, is just the Northern California ambiance.
I don't like driving in the fog. I lost 2 hubcaps when I had to swerve to avoid a skunk.
Just out of curiosity, Billy, what kind of car do you drive?
I drive a small Fiat.
Interesting. Anyway, the plot goes something like this. The town that this takes place in is about to celebrate its 100th anniversary when, at the stroke of midnight, all of this paranormal activity begins happening, and there is this strange fog bank that is moving in off the coast. You will see some familiar faces in this movie, including Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins, of course, is from the famous Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which is a great film to watch, and I would have put this on this list, but wasn't directed by John Carpenter, so I wanted to keep it to John Carpenter directed films. The opening in this movie is a true classic. The movie starts with an old mariner played by the very beloved John Houseman, who is telling a bunch of kids ghost stories in front of a campfire. You don't get much more Halloween than ghost stories in front of a campfire. In fact, this scene, the opening, was actually reshot. It was not included in the original cut of the movie. They actually reshot a lot of this movie. John Carpenter and his co-producer and co-writer Deborah Hill, when they saw the final cut of the movie, they felt like it was lacking some details, and they thought it wasn't scary enough, so they actually ended up reshooting a lot of the scenes in this. And one of the scenes that got added was that opening sequence. Scale of 1 to 5 on the creepy factor. What say the Chrono Cabin algorithm? Yeah, 2.5 on the creepy factor. I would definitely say that's about right for this movie. It's funny though, I was talking to a very good friend of mine just the other day. His name is Sean, and he's about 7 years younger than me. And he literally just watched The Fog for the very first time the other night. And he told me he really liked it. And when I asked him on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you rate the creepy factor in this movie? And he actually gave it a 3. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Reason I say that is some younger horror film fans, the creepiness from these movies may not transfer as well in this day and age, but I do think The Fog definitely holds up still. If anything, it's great storytelling. It's not the scariest of movies, but it's wonderful storytelling. It's got a great vibe to it for Halloween. That's why I love watching this every year at Halloween. If you haven't seen The Fog, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you put this on your list and watch it either on Halloween or before Halloween. I think you'll have a great time with it. It is currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video. So if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can watch this on Amazon Prime Video. The last film I want to talk about is They Live. This is a true classic. I wouldn't exactly say it has a Halloween vibe, but I still love watching this every year around this time. I think it is a great movie to watch any time of year, but I do love watching it around Halloween. I would say that this film is more of a sci-fi action horror movie. This came out in 1988, and it has a great cast. It's got the legendary Roddy Piper and the legendary Keith David. It also has Meg Foster and Peter Jason. Great film. Now, the plot of the film goes something like this. Roddy Piper is a drifter who ends up in Los Angeles, and he stumbles across these sunglasses that reveal the true forms of aliens that are actually living amongst us here on Earth. Now, wearing them takes down the frequency that masks the aliens, which make them look like us. This is really a commentary on how people are easily influenced by the media that they are taking in, and how they are kind of being programmed by the media on how to think. Now, what's interesting about this movie, if you watch it now, is all of this was taking place back in 1988. This was before social media. So, in some ways, the ideas behind this movie you can kind of bring into modern day with what social media has become. So it can be a fun movie to watch just from that perspective. Now, the critics initially panned this movie, but it ended up being a very cult classic movie. It is so much known for its incredible and ridiculous fight scene between Roddy and Keith. This fight scene goes on for 10 minutes, and it is hysterical to watch. It is so entertaining. It is just so great. These two guys put all of their energy into this fight, and it was fantastic. And the fight The fight was all over Roddy trying to get Keith's character to wear the glasses.
Put on the glasses.
And Keith's character just kept denying and saying, "No, I will not wear these glasses." Roddy's like, "Put on the glasses."
Put the glasses on! Put them on!
It is absolutely a fantastic scene. It never gets old to me. I think it's one of the greatest fight scenes in movie history, and I would watch the movie just for that. It is also famous for Roddy's improv bubblegum line when he walks into the bank, which is, in my opinion, fantastic. So, movie really worth watching. And I do love watching it around this time of year, even though there's not a Halloween vibe. I still think it's a great movie. I think it holds up in a very entertaining way to this day. Scale of 1 to 5, creepy factor, what say the Chrono Cabin algorithm? Yeah, a creepy factor of 1 on this. This is the least creepy out of the 3 that I've talked about, but what I think it will give you is just some really fun entertainment for Halloween. If you want to stream this movie, you can stream it on Peacock. You could also find a horror film fan that's a friend of yours who probably has this, including me. I have They Live, and I have got Prince of Darkness as DVDs, believe it or not. I actually play these on my PS4, and I enjoy them every year. Anyway, everyone, that about wraps it up for me here at the Chrono Cabin for this episode. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. You can also ring that bell for future notifications of whenever I release new content. As always, everyone, keep enjoying playing those games, keep enjoying watching those horror movies, and I will see you soon.